beautiful children, but she experienced a seismic shift in her world during a transformative girls' trip in October of 2021. What ensued was more than just a spiritual awakening. It was a catalyst for life-altering decisions. In January of 2022, so just a few short months later, Ashley boldly left her job, answering an inner calling to embark on a dedicated spiritual journey. And I love this. I love this because that's exactly where I am. So I love being able to see this reflection in other people. Over the past 2 years, Ashley has immersed herself in the realms of spirituality, consciousness, science, and physics, seeking to unravel the profound depth of her awakening experience. Despite initial fears, she courageously took to TikTok to share her journey, connecting with over 24,000 individuals navigating their own paths. Through her voice, Ashley breaks stigma and provides vital support during this transformative phase. It's also virtual, just saying. Ashley is not just a mentor or a coach, she's a connector. I love this term that she uses, the connector, right? She actively linking individuals on their awakening journeys with others she's met on TikTok, forming a network of support and understanding, which is what we need so badly, so badly. From a journey marked by depression, anxiety, excess weight, and strained relationships, Ashley's life has blossomed into one filled with joy, gratitude, and a rekindled connection with her family. Fueled by her awakening, she now empowers others to rediscover themselves and find passion in their lives. Today, we will talk with Ashley as she shares her mission to create safe and welcoming spaces where people can explore the intricacies of post-awakening. From friendships to relationships, parenthood, and beyond, Ashley's ultimate goal is to eradicate the feelings of isolation, assuring others that they're not alone, they are merely awakening. With her voice as a guide, Ashley endeavors to bridge the gap between spirituality and reality, normalizing the awakening process as an inherent facet of the human experience. I am so excited to have her here today. Let me get her on the screen. Here we go. Hi!
Oh my gosh, hold on 2 seconds here. What's going on here? Can you see me?
No, I can't see you. Probably up at the top, there's a little camera icon that you need to tap.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, I swear every time I do this and there's problems, I mean, it's going to be big. There's lots of energy in here. What's going on? Let's see. Maybe. Why is this being weird? Okay.
Hey, Derek, welcome in. I'm so glad you're here. You're just in time. There you are. Happy day. Hello and welcome.
Thank you. I was getting so emotional to you listening. You're so sweet. Thank you for everything that you were saying about me. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's all true. It's all true. You were one of the first people I came across on TikTok, and it was a video of you in the tub. You had the towel up and you were crying and you were just, I just have to tell you. And I just loved how raw, how real, how in your emotions you are. You're doing such a wonderful thing by showing people it's okay to experience these emotions. You do not have to push this away. You don't have to hide it. It's okay. We all experience this. I absolutely love that about your platform. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
I feel like fangirl. I'm like, I watch you all the time. It's so funny when you're meeting these people that you like see, and then it's so cool. So I'm excited to be here, and thank you for all my besties. I know I got lots of besties that are in here to support us, so I'm excited. It's gonna be fun.
I'm so excited. All right, so what I'm gonna do, because otherwise I get distracted, I'm just gonna stick with the questions and I'm gonna just dive right in. If you're ready, I'm ready.
I'm ready. And I'll tell you this, I read the questions that you kind of sent, but I was like, you know what? I want to be very in the moment, and we're going to see what comes through. So I'm very excited about it.
All right. I'm game. I'm down. All right. So question number 1. Can you take us back to that transformative girls trip in October of 2021? What specific moment or realization marked the beginning of your spiritual awakening, and how did it feel in that profound moment of shift? So I'd love to hear all about your awakening experience. What sparked it, and how did your girlfriends handle it?
Yeah, it was wild, and it's something that I have struggled to really put together. I haven't really told the whole story yet because it's something that has been so profound and so personal, and something that I've really been walking through, right? When I think about the night that it happened, it was very much you're awake and you're here, and we'll talk about that. But when I look back, I'm like, wow, I've been on this awakening path my entire life. And I think that all of us have, right? And we just didn't realize that we were being so guided and so like, it's just mind blowing. But anyway, I had, been kind of on this path where 2020 was a catalyst for me. It was a big time catalyst. I've always been a spiritual girl. Like I've always loved, I used to like to stay home from school and watch all the mediums on TV, like Sylvia Brown was like my favorite, and I love to watch her, and always very interested in like, where do we go when we die, and where did we come from? And like people around me that weren't asking that question, I was so confused. Like, why does nobody want to know this stuff, right? I grew up as like a non-religious kid in a very religious state here in Utah. Where are you in Wyoming? Is that what I just heard?
We're in Illinois.
Illinois. Okay. I thought someone said Wyoming. Okay. In Utah, very religious state. Anyway, so like I walked through a lot of stuff spiritually without really knowing it, all these things. Well, 2020 was kind of a catalyst. It really kind of pushed me to be like, I'm not a fan of this, what we're doing here. Like, this is not right? And I think a lot of us kind of walked through that. And so in 2020, or in 2021, hold on, let me think. Yeah, in the beginning of 2021, I quit my job I had been a paralegal for a divorce attorney for 7 years, worked for the same guy. And I was just feeling the call to do something. There was something inside of me. And now I understand that to be my soul was waking up and like, okay, it's time for new things, And so I actually changed jobs 4 times in 2021, and which is wild. Like I had always had a safe, secure job, but there was something that was like, and I was on this path of meeting different people that were putting me into different perspectives. And I'm telling you, like, we're on this spiritual journey the whole time. We don't realize it, right? Mm-hmm. And so anyway, the night of my awakening, I was on a girls' trip with my 2 very, very best friends. And one of my best friends, so I haven't talked a lot about this because this is personal and her story too, but I feel like here we're good. This is a safe space, but she had done DMT weeks before this. And are you familiar with DMT? Mm-hmm. Okay. Some people I talk to, they're like, what? And I'm like, how do you not know? How are you here and you don't understand that, right? And that was something I always wanted to experience. It called to my soul for a very long time. And when she went and did it, I was like, without me, like, how could you? And we ended up talking about it, and I was fascinated. And she felt the love of God, I believe, when she was, on her experience and the stuff that she experienced and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, like I want to experience that someday. Well, we go on this girls' trip that we had planned for months. We did one twice a year. We're on this girls' trip, and we go to dinner before we get back to the Airbnb. And we always just went back to the Airbnb, and we'd play games and we'd eat food, and it was so fun. And that's just what we always did. So we go to dinner, and while I'm at dinner, I'm like, I'm on a stage. I don't know how to describe the feeling, but I was like, I am on a stage. And I kept looking at them being like, do you guys feel like something's weird? And my friend that had done DMT, she just kept being like, you're okay. And she'd look at me, and I was like, what's going on here? Like, where's Ashton Kutcher? Like, I felt like I was on punks, right? And so there was something about it. Anyway, we get home that night, or to the Airbnb, and we were just playing games. And I'm gonna be honest, I haven't told anybody this part of my story because I don't want people to think that I was just under the influence and that I was hallucinating. That scares me to think that, right? We had all decided to take edibles, and I was very new to plant medicine. I used to be very against it. I grew up thinking that, marijuana in particular. Am I allowed to say that on here? I don't know. We don't know.
I don't know, but plant medicine works.
Yeah. So I grew up thinking it was for low lifes. I did. And people that were just disgusting. And so I had this image of it, which was not great. But my friend had started experimenting with it, and she had told me how it made her a better mom. Like she was taking very small doses and all this stuff. So I got interested. So I had tried it once before this. Okay. Just small little doses. Well, on this particular trip, she was like, hey, I want you guys to try. So we took 5 milligrams, just 5 milligrams of just plant medicine, right? And we had done this on a girls' trip before, and we had all just played and like ate our food and we're quiet and we're chilling, just like the standard stuff that you see. This time we're all playing this game, and we start going around in this loop. I don't know how to describe this. This is big. I've never shared all this stuff before, some of it, but not all of it. where we like would do the same thing over and over and over. I don't know how to describe it. We were stuck in this loop. I would like cough, and then my friend would say something, and my other friend would say something, and then I would cough, and it happened like 4 or 5 times. And I started to get scared because I was like, what's going on? Like I'm noticing that we're stuck in this loop. Like, are they paying attention? What's happening? And then all of a sudden I looked up and I looked at my friend, and this feeling rushed over my entire body, this feeling like I had never felt before. And I looked at her and I said, is this it? And in my head, I didn't know what I was asking. I was like, what do you mean, is this it? Like, what are you saying? Actually, like, I became aware of my thoughts. It was all of this stuff. And when I thought about it, I was thinking, like, is this where we go when we die? Like, is that what I'm asking her? Like, is this where we go when we die? And this is my friend that had just, done DMT. So I look at her and I said, is this it? And she looked at me, and she looked old. She looked like she had aged. She was so wise. She was so beautiful. And she looked at me and she nodded her head and she said, welcome home. And I just started sobbing, and this rush of what I now know to be unconditional love, pure source energy, flowed through my body in ways that I cannot explain. And it felt like, I always say, like, when I looked up, it felt like I was like being, Mario, how he gets like sucked through the green tunnel. When I looked up, it seriously felt like I was being sucked through these tunnels. And I now understand that to be different layers of consciousness, right? Anyway, I looked at my other friend and I was like, is she here? Does she know what we're doing? And I looked at her and I was like, do you know what's happening here? And she was like, huh? Because she was just high. She was like hanging out. So I looked at my friend and I was like, you gave us DMT? And she's like, no, I didn't. No, that's not what this is. But I thought I was having like a DMT trip because everything I had read and heard about was like these hallucinations and all this stuff. So anyways, me and her keep talking, and then I look over at my other friend. I'm like, are you okay? She's like, I'm here. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to do this. I told you guys. And I was like, what's happening? You guys know that we planned this? And it was like we had planned to meet up in this higher state of consciousness. So when I talk about the night of my awakening, I don't know how to talk about it other than I experienced a higher dimension of consciousness that exists here and now. It wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't out of body. I wasn't asleep. I was very much here and awake and talking. And so I'm talking to my friends. My one friend didn't want anything to do with it. She was mad that we were there. My friendships blew up after this. It was wild, but she went to bed and me and my other friend kept talking. And that's when she looked at me and she grabbed me by my face and she said, Ashley, you're going to help people go through this. What you're experiencing right now, your people are going to experience this and they're going to be scared and they're not going to know what it is. And you're going to help people. And I was like, okay, how, what do I do? And I was like, am I going to remember this? Because we kept coming in and out through levels of consciousness. We'd get back down. I don't know how else to describe it. We'd get back down and I could feel my body again. I felt very heavy. I kept saying, it's heavy here. I don't like it here. I kept saying that over and over. And then we'd kind of go back up into higher dimensions of consciousness. And that's when she was like, I asked her, I'm like, am I going to remember this? Because every time we go back down, I keep forgetting. And these are all within like 5-10 minutes, but this feels like it's a span of hours. Yeah. Sorry, this is a lot. This is like a lot of.
It's good. I love it. I'm really absorbed in it. That's why I'm like, wow.
Yeah. So anyway, she basically told me that I wasn't going to remember it all, but I was going to remember more than most, and that it would trickle in as I kept going. And I was like, okay. And she gave me a lot of information about our past together and things that we had done and different players and our, things that were happening in our lives. And anyway, all this stuff happens and I go to bed that night and I'm not sure if we're all going to remember this the next day. I'm like, what in the hell did I just experience? And I felt emotions I had never felt. I understood that there was something so much grander to all of this in ways that I couldn't describe. And we woke up the next day and my friends, they remember it, but they don't remember anything else. Like, they know that it happened. They both remember it took place, but nothing further. My friend doesn't remember anything she told me. And I'm like, you literally gave me the keys to save the world. You were like, you're going to help people do this. And she doesn't remember. And so I didn't realize till very recently that I woke up alone. I always talked about we woke up together and we did this together, but they were there, but they weren't there. And that next day we had planned to go shopping on our girls trip in Park City. And we walked outside and I was like, it was like I was new to the planet. I don't know how else to describe it. The sky was so blue and the grass was so green and the birds were chirping and I was in love with being here. And we went around shopping and every song, 222 on my clock as I just looked. My clock's fast, but anyway, every song that came on, it was for me, and I would see people, and my friend kept saying, she kept nudging me like, you need to act human. So anyways, her and I are not talking right now, and I've discovered a lot of, like, I've gone back through what we went through, and I would love to talk to her about her perspective on so much. If she gave me so much, but she doesn't know it. It's bizarre. Anyways, that's kind of like the night of my awakening, and it's just been a whirlwind, and I don't fully understand all of this, but I know that there is an expansion of consciousness happening here on the planet. Do I fully understand it? No. Do I wish? I keep asking. I want more information, but I know there's a bigger purpose, and I know there's a beautiful world out there for us, and I know that we are expanding in ways that we can't even fathom, and that there's an aspect of us that we don't even know about that exists in the here and now, and that one day those veils are all going to start popping up for people and they're going to lose their minds, because there was times when I thought I was freaking crazy, right? And so that's what I'm here for, is to help people walk through this and bridge the gap, because it's not, we have a witch wound. A lot of people think about this stuff, it's witchy, it's out there, it's cosmic, but it's time to ground it and bring it in, because it's here and it's real and it's happening to all of us, and it can be beautiful and empowering, or it can be scary and victimy and fearful. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%. There's so much in your story that I resonate with. I can't even begin to explain to you.
I
get it. I get it. 100% what you're saying, that feeling of having a conversation with someone outside of yourself, but still being that person. It's like you and your friends had a time where we're going to meet up and we're going to do this thing. And it's like catapulting you forward. And the feeling of being on a stage and waiting for something to happen. I wrote in my journal probably, I don't know, 100 different times, and said to my partner, Heather, 100 different times, I feel like I'm sitting in a car ready to go, but I don't have the key. And I'm looking around going, but where's the key? You know, like, what do I do? You know? My awakening was very similar to that, in that it came out of nowhere. And as someone who's very grounded in physical science, like nurse for over 20 years, teach at a medical school, I'm very grounded in medical science. And up until my awakening, I was all about show me the evidence. I want to see the study, you show me the evidence, and then I'll think about it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But my awakening, again in 2020, same idea. I had been misdiagnosed with a life-altering disease that I figured out was misdiagnosed on my own through COVID, because I had nothing else to do. So I started figuring it out, and it, like, my whole world imploded around me. And looking back, I'm able to realize that I had allowed the diagnosis to become my identity. Instead of saying I had the disease, I became the disease. And suddenly it was gone, and all of my sense of who I was completely gone. But I'm able now to look back and say, if it had not happened that way, I would have logicked my way out of it, just like I did everything else. And even now, like you said, looking back, I can see how every tiny step was leading me somewhere, you know? I was raised not particularly religious, but my grandfather was a Baptist preacher, and he was, you know, a fire and brimstone, you're gonna die guy. And I went from that to not believing in anything to, in college, I found the Baha'i community, which hardly anybody knows what it is, but Baha'is, their faith is all about inclusion. Their temple, we have there's one temple in North America. It happens to be in Illinois, but it has 9 doors. And the reason they have 9 doors is to welcome all the 9 major religions into it. And what Baha'i faith is all the teachings from all the religions without all the bull crap, right? It's just boiled down to, these are the basics of it. And that was my next step, was realizing, oh, we're all saying the same thing. We just have to get rid of the crap, right? So leading me through that, like, I can look back and see all those steps, and 100% I'm with you. It's so hard to explain to people. And when I went through my awakening, I went to my doctor. Like, I went to my primary doctor and sat there and told him, I think I'm going crazy. I think I'm losing my mind. I don't know what's happening to me. And then he was the one who was like, I think you're okay. Maybe you just need to meditate or take a break or something. And I'm like, what's that? You know, and, you know, he finally got me to calm down. But it was a very long journey. And I think that's something people don't understand is your awakening is for most people, is a very profound, life altering thing. And then when you have to move through that is where it gets difficult, right? You have this huge realization and then you have to come back to earth and be human with all these people that are asleep. And it gets very frustrating and it feels like, why can't I understand anything? And why doesn't anybody hear me? It's about finding your community of people who are going through the same thing, just like this, and just like on your channel where you're introducing people to stuff. The more you have around you, the more you can talk about it, the more ideas come forward. It's like a mushroom cloud. It gets bigger the more that you encourage it. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I absolutely love that. All right, question number 2. Leaving a job to answer an inner calling for a dedicated spiritual journey is a significant life-altering decision. I'm in the middle of making this decision myself. I have a plan to leave my big girl job after January 1st. And right now I'm in that phase where nobody really knows except my friends, the people on here, and my husband. Like, people I work with don't really know this. So I'm in this phase of I want to do it now, but I got to wait. I want to do it now, but I got to wait. It's like going back and forth with the plan. Yeah. What factors or inner experiences led you to take this step in January 2022? And how did that align you with your new path? Like, what was the definitive moment where you were like, nope, I can't do this anymore? Because I know you said you changed jobs several times. But I think a lot of people do that when they feel like they're searching for something. What was it that made you realize what you were actually looking for? And how has that aligned you with the path that you're on?
Yeah, I love this question. I feel like it's a little loaded. This is going to be a big answer, but I feel like it's important to hear all of this stuff. And I'm going to get emotional. I can already feel it because this was and if you're like in the middle of trying to make that transition, it's a very, very emotional time in your life because so often I feel like, and this is from my experience and others I've talked to, when you get to this point where your soul is calling, right? And you are changing jobs and you're doing different things because your soul is begging for something else and you're starting to listen, right? There's a feeling that you can't deny. It's that niggle, right? That niggling feeling that you just can't deny. And that can be hard because it doesn't make sense. And I kept saying that I needed to try something different, but I was too old. That's what I kept saying. I was like, I don't want to be a paralegal anymore, but I'm too old. I was 29, 30. And I was like, I can't, I'm too old. And, being really worried about what people were going to think if I was switching jobs and switching careers and I was so worried about what people thought, right? But when you've got to trust that feeling, you've got to trust that feeling. And so kind of what happened is I had something was pulling me along. I was being pulled through all these different jobs, but I learned something at each job that year about myself. When I switched jobs initially to go from my paralegal job to, I went to a different law firm, I realized how gossipy I was and how judgmental I was and how that's the environment that I had been in and my friendships were judgy and gossipy. I hate to admit that. I hate that was a part of me, but it was. Like, I was a mean girl in a lot of ways. Not a mean girl because I didn't hold an ill intention, but that's just what we did. I don't know. I didn't like it. So every job that I was at, I really got conscious of like paying, and not conscious though. It was like this weird thing. You know how that goes. Yeah. Where I was learning things about myself and wanting to be better and wanting to do better. And I had my awakening in October. I had been called through these different jobs, which I was meant to go to each different one. And that's where we can't sit and beat ourselves up and be like, I should have just followed the signs earlier and I should have quit and I should have done this. Like you're saying, you'll know when it's time. It's all perfect divine timing. And there are people that you're meant to meet along the path that are meant to, we're all mirrors for each other. We're all reflecting stuff back to ourselves, right? So I was putting myself in these situations that I needed for my growth. And I see that now, but at the time I didn't. I was like, why do I suck and I can't get a job or I can't keep a job because I don't like anything and nothing's fulfilling my soul. And I kept thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can everybody else just go to their jobs every day and they just like what they do and they just deal with it? This is sucking out my soul, right? And it's like you go through all this inner dialogue and inner turmoil. And so anyway, October of 2021, I started a gratitude journal. After my awakening, I heard it very clear. Gratitude. You need to start a gratitude journal because I hated the job I was at. I was working as a corporate paralegal for a big auto company in our area. And the attorney that I was working for, we didn't jive. It didn't match. The energy wasn't there. I wasn't being utilized, whatever. But what I didn't realize is I was actually strengthening my spiritual practice because I wasn't doing anything all day. So I started gratitude journaling, and I would just write all the things I was grateful for. And instead of going home and telling my husband how bad I hated my job and how terrible my boss was, I started being really grateful for him. And I started to look at things that really brought me gratitude. And like, even though he was an idiot sometimes, like he was a nice guy who tried really hard. And like, so I was like starting to find all these little pieces of gratitude. And as I did that, I got happier, right? Like my heart got happier. And as your heart gets happier, the stuff that doesn't make you happy really doesn't make you happy. And so I was like, listen, like I'm really trying to be happy. I've tried to give gratitude for my boss and for my job, and I'm doing all this and I feel better, but I really don't like this job now. It's not for me. And that's when I told my husband, I have to come home. Like I can't keep doing this. So this was in January of 22. And I was like, okay, in May, I'm going to quit. When my daughter gets out of school, that's when I'm going to quit my job. So just like you, kind of planning it all out, whatever. Because he was like, there's no way. We don't have money in savings. Right. You have a very expensive car. Like, are you going to sell your car? And at first I was like, well, no. But then I got to a point where I was like, I need to be home. So sell it all, sell everything. We'll eat ramen noodles every night if we have to. I cannot keep going to this job. So he says, all right, let's do it for May. Let's plan for May, start saving up. We'll start making plans. We'll make shifts, whatever. 2 weeks later, there had been a situation that had been building at this job, but 2 weeks later, I don't know how else to say it other than the universe is always conspiring in our favor, and the universe kicked me out of that job. I don't know how else to say it. I had this situation that had been brewing, but like me and my boss were getting along really good and we were driving and all this stuff, but there was something that came up that was a complete moral dilemma for me. It was like, if I don't take this to higher ups, my integrity is on the line here. And when you start to wake up, integrity becomes very important. Who you are, what you're doing, right? Like that stuff becomes very aligned. And so for 3 or 4 days, I went back and forth and I was sick to my stomach, and I was like, I have to go. I have to tell somebody. This can't be. So anyways, I went higher up and my boss exploded, and he treated me, he screamed at me, he slammed my door. How could you? What were you thinking? And I like laid out all the facts, and I'm like, these are the facts, and this is what you were going to let happen. And I didn't have a choice, right? I stood up for myself for the very first time. And this is all after the awakening. You become more empowered. You're like, I'm not going to be treated these ways anymore. And so anyways, he treated me like crap. I went home and I called my husband. I was like, I can never go back. I cannot go back. There's just no way. And he was like, you have to. We can't. Like, we can't do it, whatever. Take the weekend to think about it. So I called in sick the next day and just told my boss, I need a moment. Like, I've got to think about this, whatever. He ended up sending me a very nasty email that I didn't know about. And that weekend, I had decided I was going to go back until May. I was like, I can do it. I'll save up the money. I'll just tell him it's fine. I'm sorry, whatever. We'll move past it. I'll put my head down. I'll work really hard till May, whatever. And I went to breakfast and I told my friends that, and they were like, you're joking. Like, you are going to go back to that? He treated you like that? And my one friend said, that's giving the universe a big fuck you. You were pulled out of that place so fast, Ashley. And I was like, I know, but money, right? I know, but money. I know, but money, like, and they really set me in my place. And I remember being at that breakfast as they're telling me that, and I was kind of hurt. Like, my ego was like, you guys don't get it. You don't know what I'm going through, but they were right. And if I would have went back, that would have been denying everything I knew in my soul, that one, I was supposed to be home, and two, I can't let people treat me like that. I did nothing wrong. I was in the right. The higher up said, you're right. And that's what pissed this guy off, right? So anyways, I'm such a big proponent in like divine timing, and that when you're ready, but I got myself ready. I knew that I wanted to be done. I made a plan for it, and I started giving a lot of gratitude. And I swear to you, the universe shifts in crazy, miraculous ways, and you will be bumped out. And sometimes it doesn't feel good, but I'll tell you what, when I sent that email back and said, I'm not coming back, I had never felt more free. Like, I was scared shitless. But I'll tell you what, we never had to sell my car, and we didn't eat ramen. My husband got a raise. Like, it just all worked out. It just does.
Yes. So I got to tell you, as you're talking about this, like, I'm literally reliving your life right now. So the thing with my job is I love what I do. And I have always liked where I am. But for the last, I'm going to say 8 months, 6 months, 8 months, every time I go into work, I go in and I sit there and I'm like, I don't want to be here. I just don't want to be here. But I was really doing the back and forth. I'm going to quit. I'm going to stay. I'm going to quit. I'm going to stay. And then like a month ago, something happened at my work that was extremely unexpected, came out of nowhere, and it was like getting punched in the throat. And I'm like, oh my God. And suddenly it was like everything became very, very clear to me of how I work for a corporation. I don't work for someone that has investment in me personally. If I quit, they will replace me, you know? And it was even confirmed to me, you know, I don't have a lot. I mean, I dream, but I don't remember my dreams very often. So when I do remember them, I feel like they're impactful for me. Right after this event happened, and I had said, okay, that's it, I'm done, I'm leaving in January, whatever, I had a dream. And in the dream, I was in this beautiful room that was covered with these amazing paintings. And I was looking around at these paintings and I was like, this is everything I've ever wanted. It's so beautiful. And then all of a sudden, as I'm looking, one of the pictures like fell off the wall. And I'm looking, and behind the picture was all this rot and all this like bugs and all this stuff. And I started pulling the pictures down, and it was like all this being revealed to me that it was just on the surface. It was just on the surface. And if I want something deeper, it's not going to be there. And I have a friend, his name is Bear, the gentle healer. He also has made the decision to leave his job. And he was saying the same thing. Like it's one of those things that you just have to trust. You have to, there he is. I saw him in there. You have to trust. It's like a trust fall with the universe. I tell people all the time.
My thing, trust fall. It's a trust fall. Everything on this journey that you're going to do, it's a freaking trust fall. And you might look like an idiot and it looks scary, but when your soul knows and you get the vision, there's nothing that can stop you. It's a trust fall. You just have to know it's all working in your favor, even when it looks like that. Those gut-wrenching moments.
Yes, and that's something I say all the time from Esther Hicks a lot. If everything is always working out for me, even when it doesn't feel like it. All the, you know, and I point out to people, think about all those things you thought you wanted in your life. You were just going to die if that person didn't ask you out, you know, just all these things. And then it didn't happen. But all of those things have like steered you where you need to be. As hard as things can be to go through, when you have the opportunity to look back at your journey, you'll see how all the steps come together. And it is absolutely mind blowing for me to see how my life has transformed. Even up to the point, like when I first went through my awakening, because I had no idea what the heck was happening to me, I went to the closest metaphysical store and I had a reading immediately. I'm like, what is this that's happening to me? And this is not something I ever would have done before. And I was talking to this poor guy, and he was just this young guy, and he was trying to read for me, and he kept telling me, there's something bigger, there's something more, there's something on, I see you on a stage, I see you're teaching, you're talking, and at the time I was like, no, I don't public speak, I'm not doing this. And he was like, I'm like, no, you know. And then as I got into TikTok, I got more and more comfortable with speaking in front of people. That has led me to being on podcasts, which has led me to being on this show. Like I can see how every tiny step was leading me where I wanted to go. And then when I had a session with Bear last month, he literally said almost the exact same thing as that guy. And I had not told him anything. So that confirmation is so helpful. But when I first awakened, if you had asked me to come on here and do this, I would have never done it. I had to do each one step at a time. And that's how things kind of have aligned for me, getting me to the point, you know, my husband is not into this.
My husband either. I know.
And he will tell me, like when I told him I wanted to quit my job, he was like, say what again? And I was like, yes, I want to quit my job. I want to do TikTok and readings full time. And he was like, what? You know, and the look of horror came over his face. So I actually, to give him comfort, and probably also for me, what I did was, because I have so much vacation time, because I literally never take time off from my job, I decided to take a week's vacation the week before Thanksgiving. And that week I did everything I would want to do if I'm going to do this full time. And not only did I have the most incredible week emotionally, like I was so on top of everything. I was super creative. Stuff was popping like crazy. Like I'm in the middle of writing a book with someone right now, a fiction fantasy novel with someone, and I was cranking pages out left and right. I was coming up with lessons and all this stuff. I was reading readings on TikTok. And at the end of the week, I sat down with my husband and I showed him, I go, look, I worked 10 hours on TikTok this week and I made more money than I do at my job, where I kill myself for 40 hours a week and don't have time for my family. And I think him being able to see that was like, okay, we can do this, you know? But it is still, even now that I've made the decision, I've put the plan into space and I'm making steps, even I still get that, what if TikTok disappears? What if, all these things. But you can't live there. You cannot live there because you will talk yourself out of everything. You cannot live in the what's the worst that can happen. You just can't spend your time there. And like I'm talking to you about it, my crown is tingling like crazy. So,
Yeah, no, I love all of that. And that's exactly it, is that you just have to know, it's the trust fall, I'm telling you. And you're right, you'll what if it till, what do they say? Till the cows come home. I think that's a saying, I don't know. You have to, I know this term is kind of popular on TikTok right now, so it's kind of cliche, but delulu, you really have to get delusional, and you just have to know, like, I also see myself on stages, like, but I didn't want to get on TikTok. When that night, when she told me I had to help people, I was like, I hate myself. Like, I don't like pictures of me. I can't stand my voice. Like, never. But then it was like one little piece and one little piece, right? Like all of those things. And now I'm like, you and I are probably going to go to the Vegas Sphere together. Like I see a group of us at the Vegas Sphere freaking putting on a show, like the Sphere. I don't know what it is, and I believe that's to be true. So I act as if that's already going to happen. Like you have to embody it. Like this Delulu thing, it's silly, but you have to be who you know that you're meant to be. But that's hard. It's hard in the 3D, especially when you don't have the people that will support you, because people around you will be like, she's lost it. Somebody get her some medication, right? And it's like, right. No, you just have this vision and this drive and the fire that you can't know about unless you know, yes. Right?
100%. And I tell people, my husband is one of the people I tell all the time, you just have to trust me. You just have to trust me. I feel it. And he's like, right, but I don't. And I go, I don't need you to. I feel it enough for both of us right now. I just need you to believe in me. I'll believe in everything else. That's all I need. And so far that has worked, and he's even coming around. I got to tell you guys, like my husband, when I met him, he was in school to be a minister.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he left that field and became, what is the word, where they don't believe in anything, an atheist, became an atheist. Although he says he was an atheist, he wasn't, but he says he was, right? And now watching me, he's come almost full circle around, where he came in the other day he takes my dog for a walk every day. And he came in the other day and he goes, I was walking around and I think I saw myself what I would have been like if I had become a minister. Like I had a whole thing in my head about what this would have been. And I go, yes, because in some timeline you are a minister. And he just looked at me and he was like, what? And I go, okay, I'm going to back off from that, but I'm excited for you, like.
Love it. Oh, it's so fun. My husband too, because when I first started talking about this stuff, he would tell me sometimes, I would always say, Kate, just tell me if it's too much. And sometimes, a lot of times he'd be like, I don't know, too much. Like he won't watch my TikToks. He told me, he was like, listen, I love you and I want to support you, but I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm not interested. I lose sight after 20 seconds. And I was like, that's okay. I get it. Because if you don't get it, you don't get it. But now like we're having deeper conversations and he listens longer and he'll ask questions and I'm like, okay, like we're getting there. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes. And I tell that with people all the time. It's not, you don't have to wake anybody up. All you have to do is take care of your own light, and your light becomes bright enough that the people around you start to go, hold on a minute. How come you feel like this and I feel like this? How can I feel like that? And then they start asking questions. You don't have to do anything except take care of yourself. And I feel like that's a big problem with our society, especially America, right? Like where we're told we have to give of ourselves 100% to other people, especially in religion. It's bad to toot your own horn. It's bad to think good of yourself. You're conceited and all this stuff. And sure, I can see how it can get to that point, but there is nothing wrong with being proud of yourself and nothing wrong with building yourself up, because obviously no one else is going to do it, right? So I might as well do it. And just like you said, when I started to focus more on all the things I'm grateful for, it really shifted a lot. And that's that leveraging law of attraction to your benefit. Instead of just being a rock in the stream, you're actually in a boat now and you're going the way you should. It's so wonderful. I'm so excited that you're having the same thing.
I love it. It's so fun. That's the thing, is we all are just going through these journeys that are very different, of course. Like they've got different characters and we're doing different things, different roles, but the underlying thing is all the same, and it's just trying to navigate this life after awakening. And So I think so many women, they wake up and then they want their husbands to wake up, and it's like, hello, wake up, and then they're getting divorced next thing they know, because, and that's a big thing, and that's why I want to start talking a lot about conscious relationship and all things life after the awakening, right? Conscious relationships, conscious friendships. I've lost a lot of friendships. I've lost everybody, right? But that's kind of what you're talking about. As you light up, people are either going to ask questions and want to know why and how, and like tell me the secret, or you're going to shine onto them. They know, they feel it too, that niggling in their soul, they feel it too, and you're showing that to them. They're not ready, and that can cause a lot of friction, a lot of energetic dissonance is what I talk about a lot. And so that's a whole part of the journey that I think is so important to talk about, because my relationships after awakening crippled me, because I realized how I felt in all these relationships. It didn't feel good. I was always chasing. It was just all this yucky stuff, right? But then you love these people so much, and you want to bring them along, and you want to make them understand, and it's just like, you can't. You really, it's a you journey, and you've got to come back home to you and know that they will come along or they will not, and either way you're gonna be fine. I promise. Like, the relationships I've made since all of that, those friendships are incredible, and I think those friendships will come back around. And so, yeah, it's a whole thing, but I think this is the stuff that nobody really talks about, is life after awakening, and like, what does that mean in the 3D, like for our marriages and like our parenthood, the mom guilt after an awakening, and like seeing how you parent, how you wish you wouldn't parent, like that almost ate me alive. Like, there were nights when I sat here and I really was like, my kids would be better off without me, because that guilt that is stuck, when it comes up, it hurts to feel, right? And that's why I spent so many nights in the bath crying about just playing out all of the shadow work, right? Playing out all of these memories and these visions and these what ifs, and just feeling it and just crying through it, because you have to feel it to heal it. You have to. It's an energetic game. Like, that's where we're at.
Yes, that's something that I think a lot of people, not on purpose, but they're doing spiritual bypassing by not allowing themselves to actually feel it. The reason you're bypassing, you have to feel it to let it out. Everything is vibration, everything. Emotions are vibration, feelings are vibrations. The action of experiencing your life is to feel. That's a verb, you feel, right? When you feel something you don't like, instead of allowing it in, ping-ponging around and allowing it out, you allow it in, and then you go, no, and you crunch it down into this hard little nugget of emotion. The only way to get rid of those things is to reactivate that in your life and re-experience it so it can leave your body. And that is so hard for people to do.
But I've had a lot of success with people with really, I mean, if you just start digging in and talking, and here's what happens is we get talking like this, and then we get down a pathway and it starts to make us emotional, and then we stop. Oh, sorry, no, let's talk about something else. But when I get people to just keep going on that path and keep talking about it, they will cry so deeply and so heavily to where they feel like they can't breathe. They will come out of it and they'll say, oh my gosh, I feel so much lighter that I just released that. And it is literally like you're releasing energetic hooks through your words. And it's like, you just take all of the emotion that lives with that memory and you just like feel it, and it just goes. And it's like,
right. We are our biggest problem.
1,000%.
You are, I am, everybody. You are your biggest problem. It's the concern over what other people think of you, when legitimately, if you think about how much you worry about what other people think, do you really think people are thinking about you? Because they're worried about what you're thinking about them. You know what I mean? Like, all these things that we've been handed by society and family and all these things that they just don't fit, Oh my goodness. Okay. We're only on question number 3.
Okay, it's fun to just talk to. This is fun. Whatever we get to.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so question number 3. As you immersed yourself in the realms of spirituality, consciousness, science, and physics over the past couple years, were there specific teachings or insights that resonated with you more than others and deepened your understanding of your awakening experience? Like, was there a specific thing that you heard and you were like, oh, because I know I had a whole hell of a lot of those moments. Like, oh, that makes so much more sense,
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, I feel like I probably had a few, but I would say the first one I had, because after my awakening, again, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was an awakening. Like, I had no freaking clue what it was. So I went on the hunt. I was searching just anything, anywhere that I could find. And It took probably 4 or 5 months, but then one of my friends introduced me to Aaron Abke. Do you know who Aaron Abke is? Oh, he's on YouTube. He's great. He breaks all of this stuff down in a way like it just made a lot of sense for me. But I had been following him, but I came across one of his videos and it's called The Mystical Experience. And he has a whole beautiful story. He was grown up like in a church and he was going to go to be a minister, same kind of thing as your husband. But he was not finding God in the church. Like he was struggling because he knew he wanted to do it, but it just didn't, there was something that didn't fit. And he basically went on this, like, I can't even remember his whole story. It's incredible. But he basically had a mystical experience, and he explains it the same way that I just, where you just feel that unconditional love and you just know that there's more. It's that I say that I met my higher self. I met my higher self in that moment, and he did too. And anyways, so that was like huge for me because I was like, okay, up until that point, I was like, I think I'm the only person on the planet that knows this, because my friends were there. And like I said, I didn't realize they didn't wake up that night. That was just me. But I thought to some degree they were with me, and so more than I thought. But I really was like, I think I'm the only person on the planet that knows this stuff. Like I couldn't find anybody that could explain it. And when I found that, I was like, okay, this is real. Like it's real. Because sometimes I'd question myself, like, did I actually like experience that? But I did. I knew I did. But that's what's scary about the awakening, is because you experience it. There's no words for it. It's an overwhelming feeling. You want everybody to know about it, but you will sound freaking crazy when you try to explain it. You cannot explain it to somebody who doesn't get it. You just sound like a nut job, right?
Right.
And so anyway, sorry, I feel like I got off on a whole long
No,
tangent.
I think that's important though, what you said, because part of for me, one of the biggest catapults in my awakening experience was finally letting go of needing to explain it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Just being okay with, I get it, and that's gonna have to be good enough, really opened things up for me, because I was trying so hard to find words to explain this and make someone understand for that validation, right? You want someone to validate you and say, yes, I totally get it. You're not crazy, but when you can't put into words what you're experiencing, it's almost impossible to find someone who can do that for you. And letting go of that need to be verified or whatever by someone else is extremely powerful, because as you are searching for someone to give you confirmation, you're handing your power out hand over fist. When you decide, I don't need anyone else to confirm this for me because I believe in myself, that is pulling your power back to you, and they're very different things. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I really felt like that was super important to get out there, because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. Why isn't anyone else's experience like this? Why am I not like Ashley? Like, how come I can't do what Ashley does? Expectations are a killer. They'll kill it every time. You got to let go and trust that it's going to be whatever you need it to be.
Yeah, totally. And I feel wholeheartedly that we planned this. That we knew what we were going to get into. We knew how this was going to go. We had a purpose for our journey. What we're doing is purposeful and it's planned, and that's hard because then there's free will. This is a whole thing. It's a lot of stuff to get into. And I think this is why the journey is hard, because you start to think this way, right? Of like, well, what about free will? Or was this all planned? And am I really a part of this? Or who's in charge? Like all these big, what feels like existential questions. And they're beautiful questions to ask. But in society, we've been taught that we don't, especially in religion, right? You don't explore that. And so when you start to explore that stuff, it becomes scary because it makes your world feel a little bit wonky, because you're like, what do I know? What don't I know? And that's the rabbit holes. And that's why I say with this, like, as you're on your awakening, follow your soul. Like if there's something that calls to you that you're curious about, look into it, dive down. Like I dove down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. And I think what happens is I love conspiracies. I used to be so big into that stuff. And I think you should look into that stuff. You should question things, but don't get stuck there, because there's so much more, right? But people they take those conspiracies and it fires that hatred energy within them. And they're like, yeah, riot against the system. Where with me, I was like taking that in, noted, and I'm going to move on to what's next. And when I moved on, if it scared me, like for a little bit, I didn't know about energy work and stuff because of, it's evil and the devil, all that. But if it scared me, I always tell all my followers, if it scares you, lean in harder, look deeper. Fear is an illusion. There is nothing to fear on this point. There is nothing to fear, right? And I think that fear is really what keeps us from diving deeper. And when you don't dive deeper, you can get stuck in weird, wonky spaces. But if you would just look a little further in here, right? It kind of eliminates that fear. And so I don't know, it's a whole big journey. But yeah, the mystical experience, that was by Aaron Abke. That was like a key thing for me, where I was like, okay, I'm not alone. This is real. Like, it's actually real. And
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah, that happened to me too. Not with Erin Apke, but with Christina Lopes.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah,
Same. I loved
right.
her.
So I came across her videos, and at first I'm like, "Who is this woman?" Because she's super like energetic and in the camera, and I was like, "Who is this?" And then I noticed that she was a doctor and that she was from the U.S. And I'm like, my analytical brain was like, "Okay, if she's a doctor, then she must not be crazy, right?" So let me just dig into this a little bit. And like you were saying, if it scares you, definitely lean in, but also listen to yourself. If you start reading something and you go, I don't think this is right, then don't spend time trying to convince yourself that it's right. Just be like, okay, it's not right, and move on, understanding that for some people it may be right for them. I think a lot of hangups come from people trying to make everything I don't know how to explain it, one reality, right? But you are in charge of your reality, and it's not about disappearing from the face of the earth, but cultivating what's around you. That's how you create your reality. What you pay attention to, where you spend your energy, how you communicate, all these things, that creates the world around you. You're not changing the world at large, you're changing this little piece, and that's a big part of it. So yes, Christina Lopes just blew my mind with video after video after video, just explaining stuff. And I can remember I took notes. I have a whole notebook somewhere where I literally sat and like took notes, like as she did her stuff. Right?
She did one, it was just the steps to spiritual awakening, and she talked about how it's not linear, but like these are kind of the thing. And I went and I wrote down every single step, because I was like, one day I'm going to help people through this, and I want to be able to give them a guideline. That's funny. I'm gonna have to find it. I'll send you a picture.
Yes. And I have a whole notebook of stuff, because I was like, I gotta make this for somebody. I don't know who, but I gotta make this for somebody. Same idea. Her name is Christina Lopes, Lopes. She's on YouTube. She's called The Heart Alchemist. She has a ton of free stuff on YouTube. She has plenty of paid options, but something I want to point out to you about spiritual teachers, if they're not offering at least something small free to you, then be wary. Just use your discernment, because every spiritual teacher I know personally and who I have followed has always offered a ton of free stuff, because we are here to help you. We want to help you. And while it is an exchange of energy, while it is a service, there's some things that just need to be out there. So you'll notice lots and lots of spiritual teachers do tons of stuff for free, outside of readings or whatever. So just keep that in mind and use your discernment when you're learning about new teachers, and just keep in mind too, just because someone doesn't work for you doesn't mean they're a bad teacher or have bad teachings. It just doesn't work for you, and it's okay. You may find yourself coming back to them in a year or 6 months and be like, oh, now I get this. It's like steps on a ladder. One of the first things I can remember, one of the first clear visions I ever had was I had spent all this time reading Ram Dass's books. He was the first teacher I ever really followed. I read every book he wrote, and then one day I was literally in bed, right in that space, right when you're just about to go to sleep and not quite asleep, that kind of meditative state, and I was laying on my side, and as clear as a bell, in my mind, I saw his teacher pop into my head, and he was laughing, and I was like, what is this? And then he just goes, you're done with us now, and went like this and disappeared. And I was just like, I don't know what that is. But up until that moment, I had tried to read other books. I would pick it up and not be able to read it or whatever. But for whatever reason, I reached that point and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this now. It's time to move on. It's not about this wasn't right. It's about what's next, right? Each teacher kind of builds on each other, but we're all saying the same things just differently, because different people hear things differently.
I love that. That's one thing I want to say is, I read a lot of books, right? Spiritual books, because you start to like just want everything, but I didn't read very many in full. Like I would go to what I was called to and I would read it. And as soon as I quit resonating with it or just didn't want to pick it up, I didn't get excited. I never forced myself And I went around in different circles, and the Four Agreements, I think that was probably the only one that I actually read completely, because I think that book's amazing. It's a good foundational book. But yeah, I love that. Just going where you're called, because the teachers appear. As when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and that's in a lot of different ways, including TikTok. Like, people, you will find people on TikTok that are, this algorithm blows my ever loving mind, because it's a part of what we're in. Like, it brings you the people. Everybody that I've met here on TikTok, the algorithms just brought me to him, and I'm like, know her soul. I know his soul, know her soul, right? Like, I felt that the second I saw you. You just know that you're going to work together, and this algorithm is doing that in ways that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And it's like so amazing.
It's an incredible community. I was very resistant to TikTok for a very long time, because I was like, that's something my kids do. I'm not doing TikTok. And my daughter was like, you're doing TikToks now? You know, like, but it has been such a great way to connect with people all over the world. And it's really, I can see the community building, you know. And when I opened the wellness center, I have a brick and mortar wellness center that I share with my partner, Heather. And when we opened that place, it was with the idea of creating a healing community, because I don't have all the answers. She doesn't have all the answers, but I'm happy to send you to someone that has more answers than me, or different answers than me. It's not about race. I'm not gatekeeping anything. We're all here together. I want you to heal. That's one of the things, you know, is trying to bring healers together, because there's a lot of healing that needs to happen. Significant amount of healing that needs to happen. I want to ask you about one thing that I had someone say to me one time in one of these interviews that I hadn't really considered, and it blew my mind and resonated so strongly with me. She talked about how the first awakening was with Jesus, right? The Christ consciousness came in its masculine form and awakened those who were ready to hear the message at the time that Jesus came. And she goes, do you realize that now this Christ consciousness is returning? This is the return that you were told about, but it's the feminine version. And that's why there's so many more women awakening than men at this moment, because it's the feminine push to come forward to balance all of this out and to create the yin yang of both sides. It's not about light and dark being good and bad. It's about light and dark being balanced. That's what it is, you know? And when she said that to me, I swear to you, it's like the top of my head blew off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, it really
I was just curious
does.
if that's kind of what you were thinking.
Yeah, it's really funny that you bring this up, because that idea has really been sinking into me over the last little bit. And we watched the Barbie movie the other day. Have you seen the Barbie movie?
Yeah.
Okay, so I hadn't seen it. My daughter had wanted to see it. I had heard different things. Like, I don't watch the news or media. I don't look into any of that stuff. So I just hear what I hear, you know? And so I was like, okay, when it comes out, we'll watch it. My husband bought it the other night, and I watched it, and it was like, watching movies, tell me, is watching movies from a higher consciousness not like mind-blowing, because it's all just pieces to this freaking puzzle.
Every time I watch a movie, I'm like, that guy's awake. That person is awake. This is definitely an awake movie. Like, you know, all kinds of stuff.
You see everything like with these just new, fresh eyes. And so anyways, I'm watching Barbie, and I was like, wow, like, this is it. Like, I'm Barbie, you're Barbie. Like, when they walk around, I was thinking about this with like besties, when I do my certified spiritual besties, you know, it's like, if we all got in a room together with all of my certified spiritual besties, we're all just besties. No one's higher, no one's lower. Like, we're just besties. We're just women empowering women. And there might be one original bestie that called herself the bestie, but we're all doing the same thing. And we all have these same missions. And we all want to create connection and be besties with each other that can lean on each other when they need somebody. And we're in such separation right now, and it's just time for unity. And the feminine brings that, right? It's that feminine emotional energy that we're really lacking now. And that's why I became the girl that cries on the internet. Yeah, is because it's like, we need to start shedding these emotions that we haven't been allowed to feel in this society. And so, yeah, everything you say, yeah, and it's funny enough that Barbie really brought that into me, is that there is a society where we all live together, like, in unity, and we love each other, and we understand each other, and we remember that we're all human. Yes. It's like we all forget that we're all just humans going through this human journey, and nobody knows what the hell's going on, and everybody's confused, and everybody just wants to live a good life, and we're all stressed about money. You know, there's all these things, but we forget that we're just like all doing this together. And the day that we all remember and that's revealed, that's it, right? And I don't know, I just thought the Barbie movie was such a perfect depiction of that in the weirdest little way. But so yes, to what you're saying is yes, I believe that that's exactly where we're at.
I gotta ask you, the point in the Barbie movie that got me the most in my feels was when America Ferrera's character was saying all the reasons why it's hard to be a woman. And she was just listing and listing and listing. And I could feel myself, it was almost like a PTSD reaction. I was like, and I could feel all this emotion come up in me. And I just erupted into this nasty, ugly Oprah snotty cry, because it was like everything she said. I was like, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. And that little section in the movie has been super powerful for a lot of men who, because we are in our own worldview, right? I can only go from my own experience, just like men can only go from their experience. But to hear those words come out of the mouth of someone and really point that out, I know it's absolutely mind-blowing for some people. The movie Bombshell was like that for my husband. I worked for doctors. Doctors, you know, I love doctors. They're very smart, but they tend to have a lot of
attorneys. Same thing. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and I spent a lot of time being harassed by the doctors I worked for a myriad of reasons. And I would always try to explain it to him, and he could never get it. He could never get it. He'd just look at me. He even told me at one point, he goes, I thought you were making it up. Like, I thought you wanted attention or something. And I was like, well, now you know. But the movie Bombshell came out about, I don't even remember his name, some television executive that was constantly preying on young women. And we watched
some of it, all the blonde girls, right? Yeah, I remember.
We watched that movie, and at the end of the movie, he just leaned back in his seat and he looked at me and he goes, I'm so sorry. He goes, I'm so sorry. I had no idea that that's what it was like for you. And I was like, yes, that is what it was like for me, you know? So it was a very eye-opening thing, and I think there's so much of this media coming forward to give perspective to people who can't understand because they've never been through it. It's a very powerful thing, media, for sure.
Yeah, I've actually been sorry, and I actually probably have to get going because I have to pick up my daughter from school. I know we didn't get through everything, but we should do this again. This was so fun.
Yes. Well, thank you. I'm not going to keep you so you can get your daughter. Thank you very much for being here with us, Ashley. I appreciate it. I will stay on and answer questions if anyone has any questions. Heather's feathers, no, neither of our spouses are awake.
No.
So
I can stay for probably like 2 or 3 more minutes if we want to do a couple questions really quick.
So before, yes, what questions do you guys have for Ashley before she goes? I know I saw a couple in there, but I didn't really pay attention to them. One of the questions was, did either of us find that we changed habits like smoking, drinking, or anything like that after our awakening? I know for me, yes, hardcore, yes. I don't drink any alcohol anymore. I cannot watch Dateline or 2020 or any of those murdery shows. I used to love that stuff, love it, and I can't watch it.
Yes.
It's almost like I can't help but put myself in the position of the person in the show, and the empathy takes me over and I can't even watch it. I became a vegetarian almost overnight. Just suddenly I was like, I don't need this anymore, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm pretty much the same. I quit drinking well, not right away, right? But like I had a moment where I was like, I refuse to do this to myself. So I completely quit drinking, which is very black sheep. My family, they're all drinkers. And that's been something that I've had to overcome, is like, not being a drinker in a drinking family is almost like being a drinker in a non-drinking family. It's been hard. I had to process a lot of emotion around that, but same thing. I mean, I got off all media. I couldn't do it. I used to love the Kardashians and all the crime shows and all that stuff, and I couldn't do it anymore. Anything that was going to give me anxiety, when you stop liking to feel anxiety, when you realize what that feels like, you'll stop putting yourself in those positions. I don't want to feel it. I don't like feeling anxiety. So I stopped all of that. My diet has changed up and down and all over the place. I've never gone vegetarian or vegan or anything like that, but it's changing a lot. My palate changed a lot. How much I lost 70 pounds, like just like that. It was wild. But yeah, some changes for sure.
I lost 100 pounds. So right before my awakening, I had gotten sick, but it was not the kind of sick that would cause you to lose that kind of weight, right? Looking back, I see it was part of the shedding of all the stuff I'd held on to for so long. But at the time, I was just dropping weight like crazy. And it was like, oh my gosh, now I realize I was holding on to all this insulation because it helped keep me feeling safe or whatever it was.
Yeah, totally. Good job.
So
Congratulations. That's awesome. And
thank
good
you. The
job to
last thing
everybody
I want
else.
to ask you is, what is the one piece of advice you have for someone going through their awakening right now?
I got super emotional the second you said that. It's hard. I guess that's it. Is like to feel your yeah, a lot of you guys are probably feeling these emotions, or all you guys feeling it. I'm feeling your guys' emotions. It's hard, and it's okay that it's hard. And to really embrace the hard and love through the hard. And I know that's very hard, but it'll make this journey so much easier. And just know that it's purposeful and you're gonna get through it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And when you feel these emotions, yeah, when you guys feel those heavy emotions and your chest hurts, you're gonna feel like you've never felt before. We have pushed down emotions for so long since you were a child. You're gonna feel emotions stronger than you ever have, and it's gonna feel like it hurts and it feels like you're gonna die. And when you have that, I need you to hear my voice and see my face and know that you're gonna be okay. And you're gonna get through it, and you just have to feel it. Okay? And I know you're gonna have times where you're gonna say, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not interested in this life. I'm not interested in these feelings. It doesn't feel good, but I promise you, there's a purpose. And you are massive, and you are meant to do massive things that you haven't even touched base on yet. There are aspects of yourself that I'm getting really emotional, that you haven't met yet. And they're beautiful. So keep going. I know this is hard. I know that this stuff, it brings up a lot of stuff. Like mental illness is real in the way that it's your mind taking control when you feel all this energy and you don't know what to do with it. Okay, so if any of you ever have that moment, hear me, see Erin, and know that you're gonna be okay and you're gonna get through it. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to scream, and you can be really angry. Like, I'm giving you the permission that you didn't know you needed to just feel, be pissed, hate everybody. Just feel it, because I promise when you just feel it and let it go, the release that you're gonna feel. Oh, I love you guys all so much. So when I was in New York, we didn't get to talk about New York, so we should do another one. But when I was in New York, one of the practitioners that was there, when I hugged her, this mass amount of energy was between us, and I started bawling my eyeballs out. And she goes, like in history, in tribes, there was I can't remember what word she used, but basically the weeping woman, and she wept for the tribe. She felt the emotions for the tribe, and that resonated so deeply, because I feel all of your guys' emotions so deeply, and I'm so honored and so blessed to be here to weep for our tribe, because this stuff is really hard. And if you weren't taught to share emotion, or if it wasn't safe to have emotion, then this part can be really hard, because sometimes when you were grown up, when you grew up in an environment that didn't allow you to feel your emotions, emotion feels like death. It feels scary. Your ego doesn't like it. Your ego's like, when we're scared, when we're sad, that's not good. It's like fight or flight. But you guys can do it, okay? Take deep breaths. Do lots of meditations. Do breath work. Start to center yourself and hear your thoughts, so that you know that you're not those yucky thoughts coming in all the time. You're so much more than that. I promise you. But anyway, thanks for letting me weep with you guys. And I'm honored to do it. And I'm honored to be here. And Erin, I'm so happy to have met you. I know we're going to do big things and stand on stages together. And I'm just really excited for all the things that are birthing, and I just appreciate the space and you and all of it.
I'm ready. Bring it on. I'm so ready for it. Thank you very much, Ashley, for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I love how you really make people feel so comfortable with expressing their emotions. And the idea of a weeping woman is a beautiful, absolutely beautiful vision. And I appreciate that you are the weeping woman for us and help us to feel these emotions. Thank you so much. All right. I'm going to let you go so you can get your kiddo.
Sounds
We
good.
will
I
do
love
this
you guys.
again.
Thank you guys all for hanging out. Okay, how do I
Thank
get out of here?
you.
Or do you kick me off?
I'm gonna let you go.
Okay, love you guys.
Bye. All right, so that was Ashley. You guys, I am still here. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer your questions. I know Ashley had to go, so if it's a question for her, I can't answer it. But if you have a question for me or about my awakening, she is absolutely amazing, isn't she? I'm happy to answer that for you. I saw a question go through something about, did your relationships change when you had your awakening? And yes, all of my relationships changed in one way or another. And something I will tell you is that as you work on your own vibration, as you rise in your vibration to who you really are and more of who you really are, there are going to be people who will see themselves out of your life. It's just how it is. And a lot of that comes from them watching you and becoming uncomfortable in their own skin because they start to realize, hey, being sad all the time isn't normal, or whatever it is that you're showing to them. So you have to be okay with some people seeing themselves out of your life. But also remember, it may not be permanent. Sometimes they have to fall out of your life so they can find themselves and then come back to you. And maybe you were the catalyst for their awakening. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So any questions I can answer. How do you know if you've had an awakening? So Dawn, I'm going to tell you what I had someone tell me. They said, if you are asking deep questions of yourself, that's a good indication that you've had an awakening. If you are questioning what more is there to the world from what I'm looking at, or why does this work this way, or why do we just accept things this way? It's the deep questions that you feel like you have to find an answer to. That's an indication of going through an awakening. Also, a lot of people say just asking, am I going through an awakening, is an indication of going through an awakening. Because if you're not awake, you would never even have the thought of, is this happening to me? You know what I mean? So trust yourself and understand too that when you have your awakening, you do not have to do, and say everything today, right? It's very overwhelming. And for me, along with many other people I know, they wake up and they want to read everything. They want to do everything. They want to experience everything because they feel like they've wasted so much time. Like for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I've already wasted 45 years and I've got to catch up. And that's not at all how it is. You are exactly where you need to be for you right now. So do your best to not get lost into the idea of I have to learn it all, be it all, do it all right now, and give yourself permission to take your time going through teachers. Really use your discernment, listen to your intuition. If you start reading something from a teacher and it's just not resonating, it's just not resonating, and that's okay. That's okay. Not every teacher's for everybody, right? It's okay, right? Pisces, it's okay. You wake up when you're ready. You wake up when it's time. And the more research you do, and especially into research like Dolores Cannon did and Dr. Newton did about in-between lives and stuff, you're going to start to realize that there's so many things you did for yourself to lead you right here. So that's a big thing of it. Thank you, Sherry, for subscribing. Thank you. I appreciate that. Are there any questions that I can answer for you all before I let you go? I try to be mindful of your time and not keep you all night, although I could. What question can I answer for you? Does anyone have any questions about awakening, spiritual experience, my own personal experience, anything like that I can help you with? Just let me know. I'm happy to answer. Please also know that you are not alone. What if you are awakening and you don't know it yet? I don't know that you wouldn't know that you're awakening. It's for anyone I know that's gone through the experience, it's too profound of an experience. And I feel like if you're questioning things about your experience, it is the start of your awakening. There are multiple awakenings throughout a lifetime. Some are more, I don't want to say monumental. Some are bigger than others. The realizations that you have are bigger than others in some instances. But I had a huge primary awakening, and then I continue to have small little awakenings. Do you ever experience, how do I manage my telepathic abilities? It's a lot of practice. and a lot of letting go of expectation. For me, my biggest blocker was expecting my experience to be like someone else. I was expecting to have a vision that popped up in front of me, like what's the word? Not a telegram. Like in the Matrix. Why can't I think of the word? Anyway, like it would pop up in front of me, and that's not what it's like for me. I expected clairaudience to be voices, and that's not what it's like for me. Your expectations are going to hold you back, so try not to expect anything and be open to everything is the best thing I can tell you. Did you ever experience physical things like dizziness during your awakening? Yes. Good gracious, yes. I literally went to my doctor and told him I thought I was crazy because I was experiencing so many different things. I was getting shocked by I have an iPhone, and I would hold it up to my ear and it would shock me in my ear. I went to the Apple store and I said, what is wrong with my phone? And the guy looked at me like I had lost my mind. He's like, that doesn't happen. I go, oh, I assure you it definitely happens. He's like, no. My lights were going off and on in my house. My car was freaking out. There was a ton of stuff happening physically for me. So 100%. How are you feeling now in your journey? At what point did you truly find your voice? I'm finding my voice every day. There have been some big step ups where I get out of my own way. For example, reading oracle cards. I was very resistant to the idea of doing it for a very long time, but that was because I didn't necessarily believe in myself. When I made the decision that I can only offer what I know to be true to someone, and it's not up to me whether they take it or not, that was a huge catapult for me in pushing me forward. When I let go of needing to be right and simply allowed the information to flow, my readings became incredibly much more accurate, quicker, and full of information. So it's a lot about holding yourself back. What material would be good to research and study? That's a good question. I can give you a couple teachers to start with, but like I was saying earlier and Ashley was saying, really pay attention to how you feel when it comes to that teacher, right? If you're watching their material or reading their material and it's just not resonating with you, don't force yourself to stay with that teacher. All spiritual teachers, as far as my own research has been, are basically saying the same things. They're just saying it differently. My first spiritual teacher was Ram Dass. It's Ramdass. Was it still meant if you are awakened because of someone else wakes you up? Yes. That you have to trust that was put in your path for a reason. I mean, that's the short answer. It's not a super detailed answer, but that's the short answer, Lizzie. Another person you could check out is Christina Lopes, Lopes. She's on YouTube, and she has a ton of free material explaining a bunch of stuff that I found extremely helpful. Daniel Rechnitzer, he's Australian. He's not as well known in the US, but he has a book called Mind Lies that I also found to be very eye-opening. I would love to experience my past lives, but I haven't been able to access anything. Any suggestions? So with past lives, for me, they're not easy for me to access. I have had 3 past life hypnotic regressions that were absolutely mind-blowing and amazing. If you are going to do that, I highly, highly recommend that you do it with someone who is licensed and has been trained rather than someone who just thinks they know what they're doing. But listen to your gut. If you go to Dolores Cannon's website, you can find someone near you that has gone through her program, and that's what I did. But definitely, I couldn't recommend it more as long as you're ready for it. Because something you have to remember, the purpose of life is to expand and grow what you know into your experience. So my understanding is that we have all been and done everything. You've been a bad guy. You've been someone who murdered someone. You've been a rapist. You've been a liar. You've been a cheater. You've been all these things because in order to grow, you must experience these things, right? And karma, again, is not about retribution. It's about balance. So if you have a life, let's say you have a lifetime where you are a rapist, right? What that shows is disregard for personal space, personal safety. The karma to that is not going to a lifetime and experiencing rape. 111 as I say this, the karma to that is going to a lifetime and being someone who is very concerned with the personal experience, like protecting personal experience. Like you might be a rape counselor or a doctor who does these things, these examinations or whatever. It's about balancing out the two sides, not about retribution, teaching you a lesson type thing. That's not how it works, at least from my understanding. Happy full moon. I'm not familiar with Ramtha, but hey, I'm a big fan of any new teacher. I really am. Any last questions before I let you guys go? It's almost 4:30 and I'm trying to be mindful of your time. First of all, I want to really thank you guys for being here with me and Ashley today. It was an absolute joy to have her on. I have to get on my next flight. I'm so bummed to miss the rest of this. Well, I'm done. Heather, you didn't miss anything. I'm done. Yeah, he says the same things. That doesn't surprise me. So thank you to my moderators, Be Mine, Melts and More, and Nana's Babies and Creations. Thank you so much, you guys. I couldn't do this without you. I will be back Thursday morning at 8 a.m. to do live oracle card readings. You are welcome to join me at that time. Thank you for being here. Unfortunately, Margaret, I don't answer love questions. That's free will. Love you guys. Please check Ashley out if you didn't. She's got some great material, and I will see all of you on the flip side on Thursday morning. Please know you are not alone. If you ever need anything, you can always reach out to me. I will always get back to you, even if it takes a day or two. Same thing with Ashley. If you reach out to her, she will get back to you, no matter what, okay? It might take some time, but that's what we're here for. And as always, my intention is that this video leaves you feeling better than it found you. Please go forward and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you to my mods. I love you guys. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.